Perfect. Clifton.
Yeah, I want to celebrate my resilience. Honestly, it was a challenging year. A lot of personal and business lumps along the way. And, honestly, I just keep dealing with it and moving forward and solving things and so forth. And in a certain respect, some of the shabbiness of work never goes away. So I just feel like I'm going to celebrate being able to deal with it better.
Nice. I think resilience is a key characteristic of entrepreneurs, everybody. So if you struggle with resilience, work on it. I can throw some roadblocks in your way if you like.
Okay, it's Wednesday morning, and I hope everyone didn't get out of practice because we took a week off. It's 2024. The year is too young for us to really roll a gutter ball and have it gone bad so far. So far I'm having an okay year. Hey, don't look at me that way. Read the Albuquerque Journal, all right? Front page above the fold, my picture. Okay.
I knew there was a reason I should subscribe to Look on News.
Today. Okay, so so we're off to a good start. This is 1 Million Cups. We're caffeinating entrepreneurs worldwide, well, US-wide, nationwide, every Wednesday at 9 a.m. There's great technology here. If you point your phone at one of these QR codes, including the ones sitting on paper, you will be taken to the 1 Million Cups website. If you check in 3 times, you'll get a 1 Million Cups pen. If you check in 6 times, get ready for this, you'll get the coveted 1 Million Cups notebook. Look at those. Look at these regular attendees showing off those notebooks. So make a habit of it. It'll work out for you. Here's our mission. Our mission is to make it easier for entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs have a really nasty time, although they keep a smile on their face. They need resources, they need connection, and they need education, and they need to know the things that they don't know. And so the way to do that is to hang around other entrepreneurs, try to find out someone who's a little bit ahead of you on something and talk to them. So that's what we do here. We have a national and a local mission. How do we make that work? The Kauffman Foundation supports us, and they do that by creating a software backend to help support all the scheduling and providing training for all the organizers. The organizers are responsible for coaching the presenters, so we have a consistent and uniform presentation across all instances. Next slide. Okay, this is 1 Million Cups in the Southwest. There might be a chance that they're going to start up one in Las Cruces, but until they do, we're absolutely the best chapter in New Mexico. There are some other chapters throughout the Southwest. I've been to a couple of them physically. If you're on the road and it's Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. and there's a 1 Million Cups near you, jump in. There are no strangers, just friends you haven't met. You'll recognize the format, the questions will be familiar, and you'll probably make some connections. Next slide. Oops, here's our key pillars. These are presentations, not pitches. You know how a pitch works. Your company is all set to ring the opening bell in the NASDAQ in a short year, and all you need is an infusion of money. You have the perfect team, you have the perfect product, you have an invulnerable moat, and Facebook's going to be sorry that you came into existence. But we know the actual inside of a startup is somewhat different from that. You learn from crisis to crisis and scratch your head over things you don't understand. And the community is here to help you out. So when you do a 1 Million Cups presentation, the idea is to open up a little bit about your challenges and your vulnerabilities and ask for help, and the community is here to provide it. We're run for the community, by the community. All of the Million Cups organizers are volunteers. We are not masochistic altruists. We get something out of it. If you want to buy me a cup of coffee sometime, I'll tell you everything that I've gotten out of 1 Million Cups. We're radically and intentionally inclusive. I think if you're a regular attendee, you've seen that we see a range of companies. We see mom and pop operations with brick and mortar stores. We see whiteboard companies that are really just getting on their feet. We see companies that are figuring out how to scale because they have a product and they fit the market. And we see companies that have gone all the way, raised major money, and every once in a while they drop in here to tell us how they did it. So all of those people are welcome. And their condition of participation is that they're nice to other people. Okay, be polite, be educational, be friendly. And, if somebody says something that you strongly disagree with, it would be a good opportunity to keep your opinion to yourself and keep it friendly. All right, next slide. That's more about our mission. Again, you don't have to do it alone. There's a great community here. Next slide. It's easy to apply to present. You talk to one of the organizers, we'll show you a slide in a moment. If you have a for-profit business, that is a company that sells goods or services for more than it costs to produce them, you're welcome to present. Talk to any of the organizers, we'll get you set up. We'll assign you a coach and make you look your best. Here are the organizers. I'm Paul Sutter. Lisa Atkins isn't here today. Eric Renz Whitmore, I'm sure, is spying from afar. Danielle is here. Sonia online, I'm sure. And Keiko and Oscar are making other folks look good. So you can reach out to any of us and we'll be happy to coach you. Next slide. It's a pleasure to thank our sponsors, Fat Pipe, who's been our host for 10 years now and at no cost. So it's clear that this community could not exist without Fat Pipe's generous support. Dry Heat Photography, making us look great online. More Than Organized, and we're going to hear a lot more about that today. But Miriam's been organizing your stuff, your thoughts, and providing creamer. The Foundation for Sustainable Living lets you raise a cup of Joe every Wednesday morning. Noventum Custom Software, writing software that doesn't suck, and providing donuts. And Minuteman Press for all your ink and paper needs. So thanks for joining that. And with that, we're going to hand it over to you. Is someone going to introduce you, Miriam, or are you capable of introducing yourself?
I can introduce myself.
All right. Someone who tells us she needs no introduction. Miriam Martinez.
I've probably done something to you at some point.
It doesn't work.
Thanks. Okay. This is gonna be kind of workshopy, so I have a couple questions to get started to see what to include for people. How many of you own your own business? How many of you have ever done strategic planning? How many of you only looked at KPIs when you did your strategic planning?
What's KPI?
Key performance indicators.
Thank you.
That'd be like,
Not always
how
the
many?
acronyms.
All right, I find a lot of people focus on numbers and they don't look at the more holistic day-to-day success of their business and in terms of what it looks like compared to their own view and mission and what they wanted their business to be like in the first place. So I do this review and plan thing from a little bit different perspective. So we're not looking at any numbers today. There's tons of information about how to look at your metrics and what to measure and all that. But I want to measure your success and fulfillment and satisfaction with your business. So we're going to look at it slightly differently. And go ahead and forward for me. There might be a couple of you that don't know who I am. I'm Mary Martese Pino. I am a certified professional organizer, simplicity expert, and certified money breakthrough business coach. I've been doing business for 25 years in about a month. And I added things to my business as it became obvious that people needed these other pieces to get and stay organized. And I work with mostly entrepreneurs and small business owners because I love the entrepreneurial and the creative process. And I love that connection. Like, how can you make your business support your life? And how can you make your life support your business? And it's all connected. So I like doing that. All right, next slide. And this workshop is for you if you've ever felt stuck in your day-to-day business. If you feel overwhelmed in your business sometimes, if you just want to see where you're at and what you might do next. And if you just like hanging out here on Wednesday mornings, this is for you. Okay. It's just all loose today. Orientation is what allows you to get to the next step. So a lot of people will get very into the task list. I have this to-do list and I have to check things off and I have to do this, this, and this. And they don't look up often enough to see if those things they're working on are actually getting results or fitting together with the other aspects. I can't tell you how many times I personally have worked on 5 or 6 things and then in the end, they don't connect. And then you got to start over or take something apart and you got to figure it out, right? So every once in a while, looking at where you're at, how things are working is a good idea so that you can move to the next step. Also, if you value freedom, the more frameworks you set up in your business and the more kind of guide rails you have so you don't throw a bunch of gutter balls,
can really help. And it frees up your time. Sometimes my creative entrepreneurs think that if I put too many frameworks on them or organize them too much, too many systems, they'll lose their creativity. And that's just not true. Having some constraints and frameworks actually allows you to focus that creativity to get better results. It can also help you establish the standards by which you run your business. So knowing what you want your customers' experience to be, knowing what you want your employees' experience to be, your contractors, yourself, and how do you maintain that standard and measuring what is working and what is not? Again, sometimes it's metrics, sometimes it's more of a feeling or a situation that you can look at that'll point you in that direction. And then boundaries. It's about what to say yes to and what to say no to. You can't say yes to every single opportunity because you don't have time. No one has time. And when you start a business and when you start meeting people, there's so many different ways and opportunities, and you have to learn to say no. So when you have a good idea of where you are and what you want your business to be, it's easier to make those decisions to what to say yes to and what to say no to. And it all connects because it's how to be in alignment with what you're trying to accomplish and what your brand is, whether it's a personal brand or a bigger brand. You need to do all that. Point it that way or this way? Did it work? Oh, well. Oh, point it at the TV. All right. Okay, so it's also about how you're going to achieve your goals and objectives. Those are the things you do in a project or the tasks that get you to your desired outcome. It's helpful to know your desired outcome first, but we're going to start here because it's New Year's and everyone's going to be better at getting their projects done, right? Everybody has time management or clutter control on your resolutions list. Yeah, anyone? No, you don't make resolutions? I saw that, JP. Thanks for being honest. Okay, so using this format of getting oriented and planning what's next allows you to achieve more of your objectives and goals. It goes back to the boundaries. It goes back to the standards. Everything is connected in my world. So I'm always going to help you loop it back. But it also allows you to make the changes you want to make in your business work for you instead of against you. I personally this year had a couple of experiences where I signed up with a couple of coaches that took me not exactly where I thought I was going to be going with those programs, and it didn't really work out. But I didn't really do a good job of setting my goals for the year last year because I was sick at the end of last year. So the COVID thing. So all of that kind of went by the wayside and it hurt me this year quite a bit. So we're back to being on top of things now, hopefully. But also it can help you see the connections between how the different tasks you're working on, how they work together. And so it saves you time and it leverages your efforts, your energy, and your relationships in a different way if you get a little more clear on what the steps of a project might be. And then it just clarifies what that action would look like. Always helps you do that. That's all right. Technology was supposed to make lives easier, but sometimes I have concerns about that. All right. So I love to use this framework of mapping, making, and merging. It's from Todd Henry, who wrote Die Empty and some other creative things, some stuff about how to work on projects. This is all background stuff, and then we'll get to the actual questions for your own workshopping. But I love this framework because it works on the power of three. So you start out you can work on 3 projects at a time. One can be in the mapping planning stage, one can be in the I'm actually working on this right now, and one can be in the I'm debriefing about it, I'm seeing what worked, moving it forward, deciding if I'm ever going to do it again. kind of stage. And that can help you finish more projects by the end of the year and helps you know where to put the stuff that accumulates about future projects. If it's farther out, you don't need to put it on your desk. It's next time you rotate a new project in. What else do I want to say about this? I have no idea why that's up there, the decluttering thing, but it goes with it in terms of you can get rid of a lot of stuff on your desk or in your files or in your inbox if you know what the current projects are. It just allows you to segregate them to in the future area. Okay. All right. So the first thing in getting towards your desired outcome is taking a little bit of time to figure out who and how you want to be. For some people, this can take months, but you can do a pretty basic starting point by just asking yourself the question and answering it. Journaling or contemplating who and how do you want to be? Anyone ever asked yourself that before? Okay. Every once in a while I'm in a room and people are like, what? I have a choice in that. I can figure that out for myself. I can find that. So the question that a lot of people don't ask though is, how do you want to feel at the end of the day? At the end of the year? How do you want to feel? I kind of like feeling satisfied and like I made a difference or I impacted something. But some days I just want to feel free. And some days I just want to feel cozy. So asking yourself how you want to feel and how you want to be allows your behaviors to start aligning with that desire. You start looking for opportunities of how to be that, how to embody that feeling. And it makes it much easier. Next. Okay, so questions. When you start looking at where you are or looking, and it's great to do it at the new year. It could be at your birthday. It could be tomorrow. It could be whatever day you can start wherever you want. It could be your fiscal year, whatever. Ask yourself some questions. Where am I? Well, we are on planet Earth in the United States of America, in Albuquerque, New Mexico, in Fat Pipe on Broadway and Central, and it's cold outside. It's the beginning. But we have to start by looking back just a little bit. So what did you love about your year? Anyone want to share? I loved the fact that I got really, really clear on how I want to be in my business and stepping up to do my trainings in a little bit different way. So I got so clear. I know exactly what I'm doing after years of kind of spinning around, being good at what I do, but not really having a direction to grow my business. I got really clear on that. So that's what I loved about it. I also had more free time than I've ever had before because I scheduled it in. And that was really great. I got a lot of fun things done this year. Anyone? Paul?
I survived the Arrowhead Tech Spread Accelerator.
Fantastic. Over here, Norm?
Yeah, I got to work with you for about an hour and a half. I got really clear about where I was going and what I was doing. So thank you.
Thanks, Norm. That wasn't even a plant, you guys. Fantastic. Yes. And I'm sorry, Tanya?
Yes, last year I decided to start my own business, we decided to go back and forth.
Nice. Anyone else? Anyone else? Oh, JP.
Well, Siobhan and I did the creative startup in Santa Fe for entrepreneurs. And then I presented here, and then I started the deep dive boot camp at the IoT lab over at the Fuse Makerspace.
Fantastic. Brian?
My third child was born healthy. We bought a new place, bigger for the 5 of us, and I hired 4 people.
Wow, Brian had a good year. All right, Marilyn.
I started a business life coaching that has touched so many lives already. And it's just been exciting, even though I'm still learning very quickly.
Perfect. Clifton?
Yeah, I want to celebrate my resilience. Honestly, it was a challenging year. There was a lot of personal and business lumps along the way. And, you know, honestly, I just keep dealing with it and moving forward and solving things and so forth. And in a certain respect, you know, some of the shabbiness of work never goes away. So I just feel like I'm going to celebrate being able to deal with it better.
Nice.
Nice. I think resilience is a key characteristic of entrepreneurs, everybody. So if you struggle with resilience, work on it. I can throw some roadblocks in your way if you like. It's a result of practice, so, you know. Okay, anyone have something they'll never do again? Tanya?
Allow others to limit me.
Nice. Yeah, the other people, mine is along that line, is allowing other people to tell me how to run my business as if I didn't have 25 years of experience already. Okay, anyone else? Yeah.
Event video.
Oh, yeah.
I thought I kind of let myself get talked into also offering video in addition to photography.
Mhm.
But after this last year of having not even that many videos, but like maybe 4,
Never again.
never again. That just pretty much like ruined my life the entire time of editing those videos on top of like portrait sessions and everything else.
Yeah,
And
it's
yeah, no. Coming back to not letting other people tell me how to run my business.
yeah, and I think that's important too, to look at, you know, often we put a new service offering or a new product out and it just doesn't perform like we thought it might. And to be able to let go of your darlings when you do this evaluation is really helpful as well. Oh, I'm sorry, Siobhan.
What do I never want to do again? I never want to disrespect my own boundaries or allow people that I put out of my life because they are toxic as F ever come back again.
Yeah, I think that's really important both in life and business. It's okay to not get along with some people or to have some people rub you the wrong way, but you don't have to do business with them. You can say no. You can find someone else. Just because they want to give you money doesn't mean you have to work with them. Okay. All right. So think about that. I think very few people actually ask this question in this way. They might say, what am I willing to let go of? Or what can we cut? What money can we eliminate? You know, the costs, the expenses, whatever. But if you ask it in this different way of what do I never want to do again? Maybe you never want to pay for your computer exploding. Maybe you never want to pay for a consultant that comes from a field that's too close to yours because they steal all your secrets. Maybe it's you never want to work with a client without a contract again. You know, there can be little things, there can be bigger things. And then it gives you power, right? To make decisions about your own business. If you make that decision, yeah, that's never happening again. Done, move on. Okay, and what did you learn about yourself this year? Chadwick's, I don't know why I keep calling you by your last name lately. It's that Chad joke we did a few months ago and then I couldn't stop. Clifton, resilience, that was good. Paul?
Without going into all the preliminaries, there were some things that happened to us this year in response to our work that were, from sort of an adolescent's point of view, terribly unfair. But the universe doesn't care about your feelings. And so what I learned is that when you're facing a situation like that, maybe you can sulk for a day, go do something nice for yourself. It's going to be the same amount of work, whether you waste a lot of emotional energy shaking your fist at the sky, how unfair it all is, or whether you just do the work. So I learned that emotional investment is something you have to do in things that matter. And when nasty people are coming at you with stupid things, it's not worth your emotional investment. You should just deal with it tactically.
Yeah, it's a hard to navigate sometimes, that difference between your feelings and getting taken out and what you can learn from those feelings, and addressing those feelings and taking the time to heal and evaluate and moving on quicker and quicker as you get more practice in that. And I think as business owners, sometimes we're taught to just keep going, move on, don't worry about how you feel about it. And then you end up at the end of the year not feeling satisfied, a bunch of other stuff happened because you didn't process that. And I think that's really good insight, Paul, that you got to take some self-care. You're going to save time in the long run if you take 1 day or 2 days or 3 days to just process and then jump back into the work, the tasks, the projects, than if you just try to move through it without that, because your result isn't going to be as good. You're not going to have incorporated the learning you got from the last experience into it. Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know your name.
Erin.
Erin.
I learned that it was not worth my time to do a part-time job, fill out the resume, work a part-time job. I should have been working on my business, and that put me behind like 6 months. So.
Yeah.
Never again.
Yeah, that's a hard one to do. When I started my business, for those of you online that didn't quite hear her, is anyone still online?
Yeah.
You just collapsed the thing, so I didn't see it. When I first started my business, I worked a full-time job and a half-time job while I started my business. But I scheduled it so I had 1 whole day a week to work on my business only. And then it took about a year, and then I moved back to Albuquerque and I went and got my business license, and I was a business. But if you can't, it's really hard if you're working a job and you don't have like a dedicated part of time that you can work on. And it's definitely faster if you have to make the money to pay the mortgage or the rent to be able to function. Because otherwise it's like, oh, I don't have a schedule anymore. I'll work on it when I want to. So it can be a fine line, but I love that you are a go-getter enough to realize that and make it work. Okay. So next. Oh. Now that you've oriented yourself a little bit, you know what went well, what didn't, how you felt about it. We look at what do you want this year to be. This is visioning. Most entrepreneurs don't have a problem with imagination, but sometimes they do. Surprising number of people have a hard time looking at the future and imagining something different. So again, it's a time for you to explore whether you want to read books, watch TV, look at magazines, look at the interwebs. What sparks your interest in terms of what people in the entrepreneurial space are doing? What appeals to you about what you see them doing? That kind of visioning can be really helpful. But also, how do I get more of what I liked? How do you get more opportunities to train and speak and share? How do you get more opportunities to create music spaces? How do you get more opportunities to train and sell more websites? Whatever it is. How do you find more horses to test? Whatever it is, how do you get more of that? What haven't you tried yet? Or what went really well about what you did, or what converted well? Again, a few KPIs, but it could be more of a feeling about what went well and how that worked. And do you want to go all in on some more of that? And again, what do you want to let go of? Those never do again things are for sure. But what else is kind of in the way? Is there something that doesn't pay off, but it's not that big a deal and it takes very little time, but you're still doing it? And 6 months from now, you're going to realize, well, that was actually 60 hours, which is quite a long time. Are there other things you can let go of? Are there people you can let go of? Is there stuff, physical stuff you can let go of? Are there volunteer or other commitments that you could let go of? Letting go can really open the space for new, better opportunities for growth. And then think about what you need to learn this year. Last year, I thought I needed to learn about metrics and KPIs. I took several courses online and worked with a couple different coaches, and it made me crazy. And it made me feel bad about myself. It made me feel bad about my business when I realized I put in a lot of work and I don't get the effort, I don't get the financial what is it called? Response. It's not always like I do a launch and I make $100,000 like other coaches and things. I do several smaller launches and it adds up to that. But when you look at it on paper, when you're working with people that are in that, it can be weird. So I decided that wasn't actually what I needed to learn last year. That's what I thought I needed to learn. What I needed to learn was the clarity that I actually know what I'm doing. And my vision of success is a little different than many other people's. So think about that. What is it you need to learn, and start learning that, but also realize that it might not be that thing that you needed to learn, but that's what popped into your brain because the thing you needed to learn is learned through that activity. Does that make sense? Okay. Also, I think a lot of times people go into the new year thinking, oh, I have these projects to do. I don't know how to do them. And instead of approaching it of how can I learn how to do it? They just go, I don't know how to do it. And I'll hire someone else, which is fine, but it's hard to hire someone else when you don't know what you're supposed to be tracking them for, right? If you don't know what kind of steps they need to go through to get the result you're looking for, it's hard to monitor or supervise them. Okay. So that's all you got to do. And then you put this into a schedule, right? But all of that reflection should also help you figure out your juicy desired outcome. So your juicy desired outcome is the thing that can be your guiding light, your principle for getting what you want by the end of the year, by the end of the quarter, by the end of the week, by the end of the day. Just what do you want to happen? What does that look like? It's the thing that'll provide that motivation through the messy middle. If you keep returning to, does this thing, this activity help me get that? Right? Yeah.
I did recently go through a strategic training.
Mhm.
And we talked about BHAGs. BHAGs, right?
Yes.
Big, hairy, audacious goals. And I just
Juicy
wanna stop
desired
and say,
outcome.
I like juicy desired outcomes much better.
BHAG sounds scary to me.
Right?
It sounds like this scary,
Ugly.
like Hansel and Gretel scary
Yeah.
witch thing. It doesn't sound like something I actually want.
Right, I don't like it.
No, I've seen that before too in various trainings, and I'm like, that just doesn't sound fun.
Like a juicy
No.
desired outcome. I love that.
And I don't know, I know there's a few of you in the room that love wordplay. Barb and I love wordplay. But I love coming up with my juicy desired outcome and combining it with my words for the year. How many of you are familiar with picking a focus word for the year, or 3? And so my juicy desired outcome is always connected to my words so that I can say it easily and remember it well, and it connects to who and how I want to be, and it connects to my sacred money archetypes. For those of you that don't know, I also do sacred money archetypes training. And so I connect them all together, and then I have one concise statement. So this year I want to make it like brilliance, joy, and affluence. And it may not make as much sense to you guys as it does to me, but when you make it very personal, it's much easier to stick with it. Okay, next. All right, so to recap, you need to know where you are so you can get to where you're going. You can't always get there from here. Sometimes you got to take a little side trip. Or for those of us from Albuquerque, we know sometimes you got to fly east to get west. It's like, I should be able to get home in 2 hours, but I apparently have to go to Kansas City first. Okay, so let's see. Oh, hi, Marty. I'm just seeing Marty on the.
She's got some chats for you too.
Okay, so.
She said, thank you for being so honest.
Oh, nice. Thanks, Marty. I owe you an email. Do I have something else? I feel like there might be something else. Is it just questions?
Answers.
Answers. Questions.
We want questions, we want answers.
All right, anyone have questions, answers, shares, aha moments, anything? Was this helpful? Do you see how to tie it into your KPIs? Like you can use your KPIs to help you navigate the actions after you figure this part, right? All right, Paul?
So one of the problems with trying to figure out what you really ought to be learning is that you have unknown unknowns.
Yes.
So you need advisors, formal and informal. Million Cups is great for that. I would also like to shout out to my board, hello Sue, who have been extremely helpful in letting me know exactly what it is that I need to learn.
Yeah. It can be helpful. Okay, so I'm a coach. I love having a coach at all times. I will say finding the right coach at the right time can sometimes be a little more challenging. So don't hesitate to interview several people to see that if they're a good fit and they're on the same wavelength as you. And I think I have done best with hybrid coaches. So coaches that have some sort of training plus ability to ask questions that are just more mentoring type questions. So not all coaches do that. Some only take you through their program, some only have you set the agenda. I like the combination of helping me achieve my goals. JP, you had a question, comment,
Well,
thought?
this kind of relates to the previous, the making the plan and kind of being, I call it being faith in the process, because of what Paul was saying is the unknown unknowns. And if you don't have people around you that are experts in what you're trying to do, somehow you have to figure it out. You know, it's not everything's on Google and not everything's, available to see examples. So like going with your heart and kind of going with your instincts, if that makes any sense to people. Like we get really methodical in our brain about what we want to do and how we want to organize it. But sometimes you just gotta sail into the night and just look at the stars and not know where you're going, but having like, here's the goal. And then somehow you get there, but it's not plotted out like empirically is what I'm saying. Sometimes you take circuitous navigational courses to get someplace. And then also like the addendum to that is like kind of a buddy system that, maybe there's another ship out there that you can like signal to and kind of be like, okay, yeah, we're kind of going together. And, you may not talk to that other person all the time, but someone else to bounce the ideas on that is starting another small business or doing a startup. So that way you can kind of like have a little bit of inspiration that you're not, all alone in the sea.
Yeah, I think there's two routes to go with that. You can have accountability partners, you can do masterminds. I like masterminds because you get multiple people input and you learn from each other. 1 Million Cups is actually technically a mastermind style group. So it's fabulous for that. But you need some sort of framework. You have to have an idea of what you want, and then you learn as you go, and your brain likes a challenge. It releases dopamine for the challenge, not for the actual activity. So watching TV or scrolling on Facebook is not where you get the dopamine. The dopamine is, I'm going to look at it and see what happens. Right? And then you get sucked in. But having a plan and then being able to navigate that plan because you thought through who and how you want to be. And if this option takes you off that course, you know not to go there. It's like having a sextant for your trip to the stars. How's that? It's almost sciencey. Okay.
Phil has a question.
Phil, hello, good morning.
Hey, Miriam, how are you? Well, you're doing well.
And we're having audio issues. One sec.
Let me know when you're there. Hello, hello.
Hi, we got you now.
Yep. Hi, Miriam. Good presentation. I have a question about one of your slides, and I'm raising the question because I know with my clients, when I say to them, you need to do this, there's often confusion. And by this, I mean, you had one slide that says, what are your objectives? And in
Can we maybe go back?
He's frozen.
Did you freeze, Phil?
I think you did.
Oh.
Please.
He's back. He's back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bill,
Oh, he's back.
No, you froze for a second, so we didn't catch the end.
okay, you want me to repeat?
Yeah, just from the part of, the slide, which slide?
The slide that where you had, keep going back.
Oh, the objectives one, it's one more, that one?
Yes, there. All right. How to achieve objectives and goals. And when I do strategic planning with my clients, I find I get questioned about what are your objectives and what are your goals. So I have a way of defining that, but how do you define those?
I define them as the same. Objectives and goals are the tasks you do to achieve your desired outcome.
Okay, interesting. I kind of do it. I kind of suggest that if you take a game of soccer, for example, the objective is to win the game. How do you win the game? You try and
You make
score as
some
many
goals.
goals as you can.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the same.
And then that enlightens them a little bit more about what they need to do to be able to get to where they want to go. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think we actually look at it the same way. But it is one of the problems with productivity and time management coaching is people misuse the terms objectives, goals, outcomes. And they try to then tie it into knots to make it fit their frameworks.
Right.
If you look at the way the brain processes information, you have to have somewhere you want to go. And you achieve those little challenges along the way by behaving in certain ways and taking action. And I don't go more into this in this presentation because originally this presentation was, what was it, Danielle, 4 hours?
Yeah.
We did a 4-hour workshop on it and I needed to cut it down to 40 minutes. So, you know, it's not quite as in-depth as usual, but if anyone would like the full handout from the thing, I'm happy to send that to you. Just we'll get a little email list going at the end or put it in the chat and I can get that to you.
Okay. Thank you.
Danielle?
So with that, I did spend the 4 hours with you doing that workshop and looking at exactly where I was spending my time and
Yeah.
giving away my time. Which
Yeah,
for
Danielle
me
had a
was
big old
lot.
aha on that one.
Yeah, and then I did the math on if I had been charging even a minimum what I would have earned in this year, and it was bonkers. And so what am I never gonna do again? I'm not giving away that much of me ever again.
Do you want to share your number with how much money you gave away last year?
If I was charging a minimum of $20 an hour, it was $15,000. And if I was charging a sustainable amount, it was $50,000.
Yeah.
So, yeah. A lot.
So that's how you make decisions on what to work on. What's the payoff of doing this thing? Sometimes it's worth giving away some time up front to get a thing, but so I don't want to throw everybody under the bus here at 1 Million Cups, but everyone's is in a different situation. But the reason I sponsor and come regularly is so that I don't have to be an organizer of this event. Because I would take over, I would be spending 15 hours a week on it and it wouldn't be good for my business. But I found a way to participate and be involved that is not a super stress on my time and gives me great fulfillment and satisfaction for coming and meeting and knowing all you people. So that's a really good point. And that's the point or the part of the presentation I left off is the money for hours and the actual scheduling part. So
Yeah,
Yep.
I just had a question about what Danielle shared. And the old adage that they say it takes money to make money.
I think that's bullshit.
Well, no, but I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just saying it's an adage that people say, oh, well, you have to have investment, in your business to make a business.
No,
And so, it takes time sometimes to make time. And sometimes you have to make mistakes and do things that you didn't think you were gonna do to find out what works. And that's what I was responding on the unknown unknowns.
right.
And so it's hard to look back and say, oh, hindsight, blah, 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 blah. I feel like that gets me into a trap that I need to stay out of. It's good to recognize it and move forward, but to not dwell on, oh, my company's failing because of this and that, and I'm not doing this. And so the part of your presentation, I think that I maybe missed is like how to move forward despite the obstacles.
You have that juicy desired outcome. And that's what you use to navigate towards. And by saying that you have to spend money to make money is bullshit. I don't mean that you don't have to invest in your business or you don't need money to get certain things done. What I mean is you can get creative to generate the money and charge from the get-go what you're worth instead of charging less than half of what you're worth and then wondering why you can't make your business work or giving it away or working on the wrong things. So you make your decisions about money in your business based on who and how you want to be. You make it from that future person's perspective. And if that means you got to save for a while to hire the video guy, if you have to bring on a partner or an affiliate to be able to sell more of your workshops so you can get in front of the right people, if it means hiring a speaking coach so you can be better at the speaking, all of that is a different decision than I gotta do a bunch of marketing willy-nilly all over the place to generate money. Does that make sense? Okay,
I think,
yes, Mike.
I think one of the conundrums here, and just reflecting in my career, is I was an engineer, a research engineer. And, one of the things that's really hard is that, you get a new problem, a new task as a creative, and you have to figure out a bunch of stuff. And then once you figure out this stuff, maybe you try some things, and then you try some things, and then you come to the solution. But, and so sometimes you feel really guilty, like figuring out this stuff. I mean, you really do. And I did for 30 some years as an engineer. But the fact is that as that was actually the value part of what I was doing, is figuring out Pearson's problem, or the problem that was presented to me, and then figuring out like how to do it right, and then figuring out what kind of designed artifacts to come. And one of the things that kind of like helped me on that was that the ideal like engineering solution often was if you presented a problem to somebody and they said that's impossible to solve, and then you showed them the solution, and 5 minutes later they said, well, that's easy, right? I mean, okay, then that's like the ideal engineering solution, because you've just implemented an insanely easy solution to an insanely hard problem. But I would do something like that and feel guilty because I spent crap loads of time figuring out how that problem could be turned into something easy. That crap loads of time was worth a lot of money.
Yeah, so I love this insight. And it goes back to the mapping, making, and merging. And it goes back to the expertise in valuing your insights, because people pay the founders of companies or the head coach at places or the head engineer at places for their strategic ability to look at the big picture and the details at the same time. And those people are rare. And being able to do that takes time. And it takes insight into a lot of different areas, not just your area. And so you can charge more for working on this stuff that's actually fun for you because it's dopamine and there's no need to ever feel guilty about solving problems as long as it takes. So that's a great insight, Michael.
I mean, there is some things to, of course, sometimes you maybe put your own money into figuring out a new software tool or something like that.
Yeah.
But figuring out somebody's problem
It can be hard. I just listened to a podcast yesterday where they did a study with the engineering problem about simplifying, and, the 3-year-old removed some Legos instead of adding 27,000 more Legos to a situation. And then they took it on the road, and every single student at engineering school added more Legos. And the solution was to remove 4. Simplicity, everybody. It's time to simplify. All right, anyone else online? Alan, hello. Haven't seen you in a
Howdy.
while.
It's been a while. If I could, I'd like to share 3 core values that kind of guide my life. The first one is that everything you do and say either helps you or hurts you. It's kind of a litmus test. So if there's something you want to do, you think, how's this going to help me? And if you can't figure out how it'll help you, then maybe you shouldn't do it. The next thing is time. If you think of time like money, you can either spend it or invest it. And if you think about, I want to do this thing, is it an investment or is it just an expenditure? Because if it's an expenditure, you're not going to get anything back for it. And you might want to consider, maybe I should invest my time instead of spending it. And the third value I got from listening to a tape by Jim Kouzes, who was with the, I can't think of the name of the group, the Peters Group. And he interviewed a man who had climbed Mount Rainier, which, as I understand, wasn't such a great feat, except this guy only had one leg. And he asked him, how did you do that? And he said, well, I did 2 things every single day. Every day I looked at the top of the mountain because I wanted to see my goal and remind me of where I was going. And then every day I also reminded myself that I could only do it 1 hop at a time. And that's that duality that you were talking about. Never lose sight of your goal, but also never lose sight of the steps you need to take to get there. And in my experience, a lot of the people that I've met focus on one of the 2. And if you're only looking at the goal and you miss the steps, well, you just kind of going in circles. And if all you're doing is looking at the steps, you may miss the goal because that's the direction that you need to continue to go in. And sometimes the path changes. And if you're not paying attention to the steps, you're never going to get to the goal. So those are kind of 3 simple guideposts for me in the number of businesses that I have started and run.
Nice. And I would say in that situation, the why he wanted to climb Mount Rainier would be the juicy desired outcome. And that both the looking at the top of the mountain and the steps would be the goals. Just bigger goal and step of goal. Break the project down.
One other thing that as you were talking, it reminded me of the first consulting business I started. I actually created a service that no one had ever offered for sale before. And it was successful, but then the market changed. And I saw the market changing and I knew that I had to make an adjustment because the market I had, and I had pretty much all of it, was disappearing. And it had nothing to do with me. It was the market change. And I made a pivot. And it was really funny. The day I made the pivot, I'll never forget because I looked at my bank account and I only had $200 in the bank. And I thought, what's wrong with me? Why aren't I worried? I must be nuts to not be worried. And the phone rang that afternoon and I got a piece of business that gave me the best month I ever had, which was followed by a better month and a better month. And I rode that horse until that market evaporated and I made another pivot. So it's kind of like you can be successful and satisfied, but you have to pay attention because the market may change.
Yeah, you definitely have to pop your head up every once in a while and look around. And then tying back to what Michael said about noticing things towards the solution as you do so. Because if you didn't notice that your market was disappearing, it would have been a different story. Okay, anyone else? Questions? Concerns, problems I can solve?
Red or green. Red or green.
You're gonna, okay, so some of you don't know, but I'm 13th generation New Mexican. I love both red and green, but I'm allergic. So I get to eat very little. It's very sad. It's very sad. Some of us have the weird gene that makes us allergic to capsaicin. It's a thing. But if I had to pick one, it'd be red. All right. Thank you all so much. If you want to get the full handouts, I will set up my computer to put you on the mail list to get it. And yeah, I've got some programs coming up in the future if you want to get more of this kind of thing. All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, well, I hope everybody's thinking about the biggest and juiciest goal for the year, because I know what mine is. I mean, you know, it's really clear, but I'll share it with you afterwards. It promises to be a really good year. Over the past year, we've seen attendance at 1 Million Cups come back to pre-pandemic levels. So thank you all for coming. I know you're doing this because you get something out of it, and I hope you continue to get something out of it. Yeah,
Some announcements?
sure. You want some announcements? Let's have some.
Just real quick. I'm Barbara Dawson with Purple Mulch, and I'm doing a 4-session workshop on authentic communication, the sales process. And I've got handouts if you'd like one. We've already done the first session. Second one's coming up next Wednesday, 11:30 to 1 o'clock. And it's going to be, I'm calling it Real Talk, Real Results. And it's on that part of the sales process where we're engaging with people. We found out that they have a need. We found out that we couldn't fill that need. But how do we move forward to really dive into it so we make sure that our solution is the solution they're looking for? So that's what we'll be doing next Wednesday. I'll leave these flyers up here. Would love for you to take one, love to show up. It's free and it's here. And that's next Wednesday.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Lori Kerr with N5 Solutions. If your juicy desired outcome this year is to become a paid speaker or simply improve your speaking skills, I am part of a fabulous Toastmasters club. And so if you want to know more about Toastmasters, find out more about my club, please see me afterwards and I'll be here.
Thank you. Marty online wanted to announce something as well.
Okay, let me throw in another announcement. I think applications for a ski lift pitch are still open. So if you're interested in that, that's always a ride. I might go, but we won in 2017, so I'm not applying.
I forgot to highlight the 5 essential business systems workshop at the Bio Center on the 17th at 11 is me. Helping you with the next part of what we talked about.
You can register at Fat Pipe's website for that.
And Miriam is showing us a very important thing. Don't forget self-promotion, right? If there's an event coming up and it's you, remind people, okay? Right. Yeah, go ahead. There we go. Now the floodgates are broken. Someone online first, yes.
Marty, do you want to go ahead and?
I shall hold the coveted microphone.
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So I just wanted to, I'm sorry not to be there in person. I did finally make it to Albuquerque. Thanks, Miriam, for that recognition of how you have to go east to go west or west to go east, because wow, having a bi-coastal marriage is a challenge, getting in and out of Albuquerque. So thanks for that. But I made it here last week and promptly got the flu. So didn't want to expose anyone. But I am really excited about, this is a pilot, our community in 30 Things is a pilot program for me, or I'm beta testing it. And I was just so delighted when Lisa offered that pipe for it. And what it is that basically we, the idea is we surround ourselves with objects. We surround ourselves with things. We even adorn ourselves with things that have stories. Of course, I've asked Paul several times about his hat, because that has a story, and there's plenty of things that we all have. And I have been hosting events about the stories of the things that matter for over a decade. And they really do show quite they give us insights into one another in a way that other things don't. So I would really, really, really love, and I am going to be sending emails out directly once I recover from the flu. I'd really, really love to have people participate. We only have 2 people so far that have technically signed up. But I am hopeful, well, 3, that's it. One who said yes, but it hasn't signed up per se. But I'd really love to at least get 10 people to think of the object that brings them joy, magic, and meaning. Something that they'll leave behind and people will remember you by. Or maybe even something that would tell a bit of your business story as well, a thing. And join us in this exhibition that will be going up at the end of the month. So thank you. And more information is in that lovely letter. And thank you so much for participating.
Thank you, Marty. And I actually typed in that web URL by hand because I just had a screenshot rather than the actual link. So that tells you how much I wanted to get into this. So I encourage you folks to join as well.
Good morning, everybody. Danielle with Conscious Crossroads End of Life Services. Next Tuesday at Isletter Health Center from 5 to 6:30 p.m. I'm doing a workshop on what matters most when preparing for your death. Also, I'm going to talk about medical aid in dying. So if you have anybody in your life that is currently entering that process, or if you're just curious about how you can approach death with openness and curiosity and love and empathy and vulnerability rather than fear, come see me. Thank you.
Marilyn Pruitt with Our Peaceful Path. I have been doing some free 1-hour workshops so that people get a sample of what I do. I've got 2 coming on this month. There's a flyer right there, and they have been life-changing and very insightful for many people who have gone. Some of them in this room, so I'd like to see you there if you want to come. Next Wednesday, the Wednesday after, I didn't coordinate with Barbara and Miriam on that, but they're both good.
All right, folks, you can see there's a lot of great stuff going on. There's a lot of people willing to be helpful, helping you discover your own unknowns and helping you knock on doors that you thought were closed to you. So make this your best year you ever. There really is everything you need is out there. Everybody you need to talk to is out there. You just have to try to make it come together, and it's not terribly efficient. So thanks for coming to 1 Million Cups. See you all next week.